So as we said, I'm Matt and I am from AO.com. If you've heard of us before, fantastic. If not, we have that really annoying advert which goes, AO, let's go. So I will not sing that any further. So today I'm just going to talk a little bit around our innovation story, some of the things we've been doing over the last 12 months, and I guess some of the learnings that we've sort of come across. It's really bloody difficult to do innovation. We've got 200 developers, we turn over £1 billion. We're a big clunky business with a lot of legacy tech. Therefore, that balance between building things internally and working with third parties is something that we're going through. So I work in our strategy team and I have the best job in the business because it means I get to look forward on strategy, I get to speak to customers, but I also run our innovation labs, which I'll come on to slightly later. Also today, I'm going to do this via the medium of memes. So what is innovation? So I guess for us, it's got to be really personal. We pride ourselves on having this customer-centric USP as a business, and therefore it's got to be specific to your business. So everybody knows Steve Jobs. We know that he pushes the boundaries of product technology. Everybody knows that story, but actually the company on the right-hand side, is a flood defense system. So my colleague, his family business is a flood defense business over in Huddersfield, and actually their innovation is around how to change small little nuances in their product. It's still innovation. The point is it's got to be personal to your business, and you don't need to look at Amazon or Apple all the time. Think about what your customers want and really sort of adapt to that. So one size fits all, that is absolutely not true. So building on that last point, innovation really is bespoke to your business. There's a lot of frameworks out there, there's a lot of people, and I know there's a lot of consultants in the room that will tell you there's a framework, but actually they'll want to work with you, they'll want to understand your problems, really understand your customer base. And I think when we heard from the guys earlier around, actually you've got to understand what your customer wants, that's the biggest theme in our business. So I've got a consumer insights team, I've got research teams. We don't necessarily focus on competitors, but we focus on what do our customers want from our product and our services, our proposition, how do we make it better for them. So making the leap. So one really good example is Siemens. So I've recently been reading a book called Leap, and actually it's around how do big organizations go from one stage of their technology journey to another, and how do you leap from one, I guess, piece of infrastructure or platform to another. So Siemens are about 175 years old, and they've been through 4 industrial revolutions. They started making cotton mills, and now they drive the IoT market. I don't know how they've got from there to there, but actually the ability to move into new geographies, new markets, and into new consumer-focused technologies is really important. So actually just looking at what you do now doesn't work. You've got to look at the market and see what's coming down the track. So some of the key factors, I think I maybe put 5 of these. So I came from a VC background, so my old job was to invest in tech businesses, and as we know, a lot of those inevitably fail. So actually this idea of letting 1,000 flowers blossom, which was an old Chinese proverb, are actually just the VC model. If you've got 100 ideas, you're actually far more likely to get some success out of them. If you can quickly kill the ones that just aren't working, those shit ones, put them in the bin and forget about them and learn from them, you'll get 3 or 4 out of that 100 that really drive your business forwards. So this idea of sort of spreading your, or hedging your bets is really important in innovation. Just backing one idea to the end of the earth probably doesn't work. If it does, fantastic, but that's not very likely. So number 2 is resource. So can innovation be side of desk? I think the answer is yes and no, which I know is not an answer, so let me rephrase that. You've got to have some dedicated time and resource and people to do this. Everybody's got a tough day job. I don't think you've ever spoke to anyone at work that says, I'm actually not busy at the moment. So actually having some time set aside, whether that's in your job role, in your title, in your team, or even in your KPIs or your objectives for the year, it's really, really important that you've got some time set aside to focus on innovation. For me, it's coming doing things like this, it's going to events, it's meeting interesting startups, it's trying to work out how we can weave that into our business and take all these ideas and accumulate them into something that's AO customer specific. Number 3, so executive buy-in is a necessity. So this, I think, is one of the most important things. If your exec team and your boss and your hierarchy, whatever you're structured like internally, if they're not bought into innovation, it's just going to fail. You can talk to all of the developers and your team as much as you want, but inevitably, if it gets to a decision where you've got to pay for things, you've got to really take some risk, whether that's R&D, or just having a team in a product team that you can work with. You've got to get that buy-in from the exec. And it's not all about the money, right? Again, bullshit. You can only do innovation for so long without making any results or anything commercial. We spoke about it before around corporate finance when we were talking about Skyscanner. But actually, if you don't get any results from your innovation, there's only so far that your budget can stretch. We're not Apple, we're not Amazon, we've not got £20 billion a year to spend on R&D. Actually, we've got quite a small amount. So you've got to show some element of incremental benefit to the business, and that is ordinarily in commercial terms because money speaks. You don't need to do that all the time, but actually early on in this journey we found that trying to do relatively simple things that had easy wins really helped us build that momentum internally, and it allowed the exec team to go, actually these guys are doing okay, and then your remit grows and grows over time, so you're allowed to sort of push the boundaries of R&D a little bit further once you've got some of those proof points internally. Meme number 1 of possibly 7 or 8, but culture, this is the most difficult thing. So AO has always built our technology in-house. We've got one outsourced team in Europe, that's it. There's about 15 people. The other 200 or so are all internal, and we've always built things ourselves in-house. The reason being that we were very customer-centric. We wanted to make sure that the offering was the best for our customers. So we looked out in the market, and actually some of the things that we wanted, whether that was a logistics provider, they weren't good enough, so we then built our own and built our own technology around that. Recycling, things that go on in the payments or in the basket. Our whole e-commerce platform has been built in-house. So trying to shift the business to start thinking about how do we utilize third-party software, how do we integrate with them, how do we lose control of some of our technology stack, is quite difficult to do. And you've really got to bring those product owners and those internal technology leaders along the journey with you. So this is just a bit of a talk about what's in our utility belt, because I love Batman and Marvel, obviously because I'm a geek, but actually what are some of the tools that we can use in the business to help drive this innovation forwards. So we said previously around some of the research functions. So within my strategy team, I've also got a research team. So I've got 6 people that focus on consumer research, technology, market trends. We do look at what competitors do actually. We don't look to follow them, but we look to see what direction they're going in and see what the impact on the customer and the market will be. But actually, everything's got to be data driven. If you don't understand your customers, it doesn't work. So we recently set up our own research labs in our business. So we invite customers in once a month and we test new ideas and new products on them. We get that feedback off them immediately, and it's actually the purest form of research. Rather than going to an event or reading a report, just listen to 12 customers, show them something you're about to build and see what they think. More often than not, they don't like it as much as you do, which is frustrating but very helpful. So diversity, a hot topic within technology, but actually you only get the best ideas if you've got a diverse workforce, whether that's backgrounds, it's a mix of generalists that we spoke about before, so I'm a generalist. We've got people from finance and commercial, we've got IT people, we've got product owners, and we've got some exec people that have been around the block. You need these new people, you need new ideas, and you've got to get diversity of thought and business expertise around the table. Otherwise you just end up doing another version of IT. If you've got 5 IT people trying to do innovation, they just do exactly what they've done for the last year, and it doesn't get you anywhere. So leverage the collective IP of the world. I'm very much a believer that despite being an e-commerce expert, we've been there for 20 years now, we're pretty good at e-commerce, but it doesn't mean we know everything. So we're very much opening up our doors to try and work with third parties. There's a load of really clever people in this room, in London, in Manchester, around the world. You need to find the best tool to get access to that and to really leverage that within your internal ecosystem. And that point actually around leveraging the collective IP of the world, I'll come on to later in a bit of a case study, but actually we set up our own innovation labs. So we had 200 people apply from around the world to come and work with us in specific niches of tech that we wanted to develop, and that was a real eye-opener for a business. Test some shit. So you can only do innovation if you're willing to test things and know that 90% of the time it's probably going to fail. Some of the time it'll be okay, and actually those nuggets that you really find work, back them, enhance them, keep sort of working on them, You've just got to get it out there. So back to point number one around this VC model. You might have to do 100 things before you get that winner, but actually that winner will only come from the failures. So moving on to failures, I think you should shout about your winners, absolutely, because that helps build that culture internally of, we've done this new thing and it worked, why don't you be involved in the next one? Everybody wants to work in an innovation team because those are the guys that are doing new things, the exec are watching, it's fantastic. But actually you've also got to shout about the losers as well. You need to learn from, I guess, the reasons for the failure. You need to understand what not to do next time. And when you say you might do 100 things, the one winner that you've got probably came after 10, 15, 20 failures because you've learned 10, 15 or 20 times what not to do. So it just enhances that process over time. So we were founded 20 years ago because of a £1 bet. So our founder, he's very forward-looking, he's very entrepreneurial. He recently came back into the business as CEO in March. And actually, when I said about executive buy-in, he's brilliant for that. He loves technology, he loves the consumer focus of our business. And actually, he agreed that we couldn't do things in-house anymore. It was, despite having 200 developers, IT was still our biggest constraint on growth. We probably do 100 projects a year, 100 new things in the business. It wasn't enough. We want to be growing at 25, 30% a year at £1 billion turnover business in what is a relatively flat market. That's a tough ask. So actually one of the outputs of that was we set up our own innovation labs. It was the first year this year. And I think the next slide is probably a video of that. There we go. We had 150 applicants, 17's the final pitch day, and we've ultimately picked 4 winners. I think now is the video.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to the AO Innovation Lab Pitch Day.
So today was about the AO Innovation Day, which was about opening AO to lots and lots of different startups and different companies at different stages. AO is a growth business with a growth mindset. We've always been disruptive. This is about disrupting ourselves, and it just brings an energy to the business that we all thrive on, and it's very much the AO way.
We're dedicated to helping management work more closely with their IT organization by removing some of the cost and burden of expensive integration projects. I'm excited. It's a great environment, and I'm glad to be here.
It's a great environment.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
My name is Tarek from Surfly, and I wanted to put together this 5-minute pitch, tell you a little bit more about Surfly, who we are, and how we can help AO.
Consumer dynamics are changing. We don't have stores, and therefore the online customer journey is changing week in, week out. We try to invest in the technology of tomorrow to make sure that our customers have always got the best proposition.
We have a lot of mobile browsers. How would you say working on mobile?
We can work with all browsers with a mobile phone as well.
How did you get into this? And what did you do before? Just intrigued.
We've done it completely off our own back, sort of from step by step. And if nothing else, to be here, just 2 years into being set up is a real win for us.
It's great. It's a massive achievement.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
It's great to meet you. Thank you. Great to meet you.
Our platform will take your existing imagery and product information and convert it into XR-compatible content.
I'm a firm believer that we need to disrupt ourselves so other people don't disrupt us, and the common themes are personalisation, how to use machine learning and AI in creative ways so we can serve our customers.
Sounds confusing, right? That's why I'm gonna let Mr. Jim Carrey make it a little bit more clear.
I think I may have missed the point here. Jim Carrey was very aware that there was the sound of smashing glass. He just didn't care. So if the driver doesn't care, this sounds like a case of the operation's a complete success, but the patient's still dead.
I'm going to talk about how we use chatbots to make the workplace more efficient and also more rewarding. It basically reduces all the frustrations that people have at work when they're looking for answers but don't know who to ask. And then that's really great because your experience as a person just trying to get that thing done is just you ask a question and then eventually you get a response.
We've had a fascinating day seeing amazing companies across a whole spectrum of topics. I'm really excited now to follow up on it all.
The very good news is that you were one of our 4 winners. The very good news is unanimously picked from both the panel and the audience.
Thank you very much, and I look forward to follow up and seeing you again in person soon.
So congratulations, you are one of the 4 that we want to work with.
I'm looking forward to the journey, man. I really am.
So there was a range of reasons that drove us to choose the 4 companies as the winners that we're going to work with. But if I was to pick one thing out that really made me gravitate towards those companies, it would be the passion and the energy that they brought to the party.
We'll work hard as we usually do just to make sure you didn't make a mistake. So that I can assure you. To make sure you didn't make a mistake.
4 winners for the Innovation Labs.
Yeah, that's really pleasing. This was really exciting.
I was absolutely captivated by their passion for making a difference with it, and it really drew me in to want to work with them as a business. And then we'll hand that to the team to see, well, how can we explore that? But I'll bet through experience that we end up working really, really well with them.
There we go. So that was done in August. We picked the 4 winners probably early September. And actually we've already gone live with the proof of concept with one of them, which is a core browsing solution. So the business you saw that was called Surfly, they're based in Amsterdam, and it allows us to guide consumers through the buying journey better, particularly when you've got elderly demographics that can't necessarily work our website in a good way. Actually, one of our agents on the phone will send them a quick code or send them an email or a link. We can access their computer and we can guide them through that buying journey. But other areas we can use it on is to prevent failed deliveries, damage to products. We can effectively give you a new product on the same day if it's damaged in the morning when it arrives. Previously, our process would have been we need to send it back to our warehouse, we need to assess it, we need to speak to the supplier, and that would maybe take 2 or 3 days. This way, we can get that washing machine to you that's broken because you need to wash your kids' clothes that day. We'll get it to you the same day. So actually using technology to, I guess, solve a specific customer problem, which is if the product is damaged and it's not our fault or theirs, they've still got to wait 3 days for it, which doesn't necessarily seem fair. This way we can get it back to them the same day that they don't pay for, and everybody's happy. So I guess that was a really good example of how we quickly, within 4 weeks, spun up a third-party business coming and integrating with our website, training our call center staff, and we've just done a 4-week trial with them. It went relatively well. The software had quite a few bugs in it because we did a relatively light integration, albeit we'll go now in January, do a full bells and whistles integration with that product. So actually already, just by testing some shit, as I said before, we managed to really solve some customer problems for us. So I guess my last slide would be, just give it a go, guys. Some of the things are going to work, some aren't, but I think as you start to gain momentum and start to build that internal culture, you'll get some good results, and hopefully it starts to have a real impact on your customers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. We do have time for some questions, if there are some. Anyone got questions? No? All right then, Matt. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers. Oh, wait, hang on. Pull you back.
Bespoke is the answer. So there's 4 that we're working with. We've contracted effectively on a small proof of concept with Surfly. We will analyse the results, and in January we'll get a proper commercial arrangement with them, which will just be it'll be a paid for commercial agreement. A lot of the others we are working with over a slightly longer period. but they'll all be bespoke. I guess going into the innovation labs, we did say that we would happily invest or buy any of these businesses if it was right. We're not going to do that with Surfly. They've just raised a couple of £1 million themselves, but we'll do a commercial arrangement with those guys. Our team also covers M&A, so we've got a pot of cash to invest in businesses and to buy companies. I think if we found something that was really interesting, created a massive USP, and we didn't want Currys or Argos to have it, we would absolutely buy that. So I guess it's a little bit fluid and a little bit ambiguous, but horses for courses.
So you've started a separate ventures fund as well?
No, it'll come directly from our balance sheet, so we don't have a separate investment fund. Yeah.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Just a quick one. In terms of the Surfly, is that using blockchain technology? If you're doing same-day repairs and returns, I can't conceive of another way you'd do that.
Sorry, repeat that question again, Jay.
In terms, you were talking about your new product using new technologies to do same-day repairs or returns.
Yes.
Is that using blockchain? Because presumably, I can't think of another way you'd be able to reconcile that supply chain in the same day.
No, so sorry, maybe I didn't explain that. So Surfly is the core browsing solution that allows us to speak to customers. It allows us to access their camera should they give access to us, and we can assess damage there and then. Our existing repair and delivery infrastructure is such that we can get another product out to them the same day anyway from our existing system. The previous blocker was the fact that we would have to pick it up the following day, take it back to Crewe, which is where our warehouse is, assess damage there and then send a new product out. If we know it's damaged on the morning that it gets delivered, we can just arrange for another to be sent straight back out on another truck that afternoon. So it's effectively utilising our existing ecosystem and our existing assets, which is quick, fast delivery, with the ability to speak to the customer immediately. So Surfly was the screen sharing, mobile browsing type solution.